The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to TechGig webinar series, our endeavor to empower techies. We believe that sharing of knowledge is the key to enhance our skills and grow us as professionals. With this principle in mind, we've initiated a series of webinars conducted by industry experts to give you all a crisp insight of various domains. Over the last 11 years, Osmosis has been a platform for Mindtree minds to showcase their technical capabilities, learn, share, and innovate. It has been the stage to showcase the skills and capabilities at Mindtree and to tell the world that we are unstoppable as individuals and as an organization. With Osmosis 2015, we are taking things to the next level by not just engaging Mindtree minds, but by connecting the organization to the entire ecosystem that we are part of. The topic of today's session is Accelerated Time to Market with Mindtree's Dynamic Test Engineering Platform. We expect the webinar to last for about an hour with 45 minutes of presentation and remainder for question and answer round. If you have any questions, please submit them using Questions tab on your control panel. Our guest speaker today is Ramnath Shagbag. He is a General Manager at Mindtree Limited. Ramnath has over 17 years of IT experience, having played various roles including delivery and practice roles. He has experience productizing in-house solutions including architecting an award-winning plug-and-play framework for software test automation. He has also managed delivery responsibilities of several accounts including taking them to multi-million-dollar engagements. Some of the initiatives he has taken are in creating Testers Toolkit, Test Quality Index Prediction Model, outcome-based delivery models, etc. He is active in various testing forums and has presented and published several white papers, technical articles, lightning talks, and blogs. For the last 2 years, he has been taking care of automation and performance COEs, achieving the lowest attrition with a healthy growth rate and profitability. So without further delay, I introduce you all to our guest speaker today. Over to you, Ramnath.
Thanks, Deepika. So thanks for the introduction. I will be sharing my screen in a second. Hope everybody is able to see my screen. So, like Deepika mentioned, today's topic is accelerated time to market with Mindtree's dynamic test engineering platform. So, when I say dynamic test engineering platform, we basically created this to address some of the challenges that we see in the testing landscape itself. So, I'll probably spend next few minutes, maybe 5 to 7 minutes, talking about some of the challenges that I see in this space, so that once we go through that, you probably will have a fair idea of why we created what we are going to talk about today and how it's going to address some of these challenges. So as you all know, that SaaS and cloud-based applications are basically raising the need for seamless integration between development, testing, release management, operations, and all the teams that are working together to release a successful product. Now, when there is such demand, there is also a pressure on leveraging technology to drive something called shift left. I would be using some of these terms in today's discussion, but we will try to clarify most of it towards the course of the discussion. But if any of these doesn't get addressed, please feel free to send in your questions and I will try to answer them as much as possible. The good part is I should be able to see all the questions here. So feel free to send your questions because nobody else can see it other than me. Your questions I will take on the way it comes to me and based on the time it's available. So some of the other challenges that we started seeing was because of this agile and SaaS being predominant, and everybody is talking about continuous deployment, continuous integration, and so on and so forth, continuous testing has become an imperative, right? But obviously with continuous testing there comes a lot of other challenges, like you want to do testing as quickly as possible and as soon as possible and as frequent as possible. So with this basically raises the cost of testing. Okay, that means the more testing you do, the more quicker you identify or detect the defects, and you are able to give the feedback back into the system so the developers can go fix it, and you continue providing your feedback, so on and so forth. So so these are some of the things, but to add to that, suddenly there is a shift in which the clients are expecting something out of the service providers. That is outcome-based model, for example. Today, test automation is asked to be offered as an outcome-based pricing model. That is, a client would only pay for a successfully executed test in their environment. I would stress on the word their environment, because why would I want to pay for effort which I'm not going to directly translate into my business outcome, right? So there is a lot of this paradigm shift that we are seeing. So the whole service itself, the testing service itself, is getting offered in either a pay-per model or on-demand model. Okay, so you get either paid for a particular test run, or you get paid for the number of test cases that you get executed. So you can call it like productivity-based, or you can call it as outcome-based, or whatever is convenient. But the idea is that you need to provide a service on demand. And finally, so as we started seeing some of these things, right? So we said we probably need something which can be offered in a continuous manner, right? Where a lot of these unproductive activities, I would call, get reduced or eliminated, right? So that we can offer what is relevant in the testing context. So hence we came up with this platform called Dynamic Test Engineering Platform. I'll probably get into the details of the platform a little later once the context is set. But what this does is it basically bundles your SaaS and service adoption into a single packaged offering. So what we together call it as test ops. I mean, there are many terms today out there. People call it DevOps, people call it test ops. There are testing as a service model. So there are different ways of nomenclature for this, but the idea is that, right? So, but what we have done is we have gone a step further and integrated with a couple of other things, right? Especially in SDLC, there are I see it as three entities. One is your people, second is your process, and third is your technology. So we have tried to merge people, process, and technology. So we have trademarked something called Mindtest, which is our way of doing testing in Mindtree, and there's a trademarked process. It's also part of the ISO 29119 standard, with what we call as your business, that is people input, right? And that is merged with the technology layer, which is the dynamic engineering platform. So, one of the thoughts that I was thinking about was, as testers start doing their testing, one of the major things we have seen is delays in getting the environment provision to them, right? When I say environment provision, it's having access to your environment quickly. By the time the build is deployed and ready to be tested, you need to have the right kind of infrastructure in place, the right kind of configuration, right kind of tools to be loaded, right kind of frameworks to be put in there, and so on and so forth. Now, that could be one reason. Second, the challenge is generally miscommunication between the development, testing, release, operations, and so on. So any of this unit not performing or delaying the other department's work or time impacts the overall SDLC. So basically, we are talking about here is how to make it as continuous as possible, right? In order to reduce any wastage along the process. So basically, the dynamic engineering platform that I'm talking about today here, we also call it DTEP. I might be interchangeably using the words either dynamic test engineering platform or DTEP. So the DTP basically, we have tried to answer these questions through this platform, where we could either take on any kind of testing transformations or regular business as usual services. Okay. So the beauty about this is a plug and play architecture. So it's not mandatory that the whole platform needs to be leveraged based on the customer needs or based on the requirements. One can plug and play what is relevant to it. So it's completely tool agnostic. It's completely delivery model agnostic platform. So that way it keeps it easy for anybody and not mandating things that needs to be part of a particular setup. Okay. And to top it all, what we have done is we have given some utilities and tools to make your or monitor your health of the project, right? It could be through your test coverage metrics, it could be through your code coverage metrics, bringing in a lot of other components like your performance, monitoring, and things like that, right? And finally, broadcasting the whole integrated output in a form of a dashboard. Now, so those are some of the challenges which I said and how we are trying to address it. So if I have to give you how I see a testing landscape, right? I basically like to divide it into 3 layers. The top layer is the test factory model, where you would get your inputs from the business. I will tell you why some of the inputs that you get from business is probably not everything that you want, because testing itself is so creative field, or there are so many constraints when you do a certain kind of testing. So business requirement alone is not sufficient. So, but it's a very important requirement to get started. Okay. So you take your business requirements, right? It could come from different things. It could come from your customers. It could come as a change request. It could come as an announcement, or it could come based on how the market is behaving, right? And then that basically is your business layer, right? Once the business requirements are captured and you come up with your test scenarios or test cases, that's when you define what kind of environment I need to have, right? What kind of tools that I need to procure, what kind of investments that I need to make, and so on and so forth, right? Basically, you're planning your IT. So once those things are set up, you would actually figure out what kind of how much it's going to take for me to deliver on this project. So what are the kind of estimates, what are the kind of resource I need to load, and so on and so forth. And finally, if there is a handshake, right, that is required for transitioning from one to the other, or what are the risks associated with this. So once you analyze all of this, you basically perform or do a governance of how you're going to manage your project. And then you decide what kind of services I need to offer, right? So you may decide to offer only testing, or only manual testing, or only automation, or maybe non-functional testing, right? But finally, you want to show it in some kind of a health of the application at any given point of time. So we club it all together into something we call as a test factory, right? Which is where all these entities work together to make it happen, right? So it could be your business users, it could be your testers, it could be your core team, it could be your business analyst, it could be anybody, right? Entire team that makes it happen. And the bottom layer is the process and methodology which I mentioned earlier, which is termed as mind test, right? So we have sandwiched these two things, right? Between the technology layers. So what we do is we offer this dynamic test engineering platform which connects the two layers, which is the factory model along with your processes. So that's how it makes it complete. So now you're, as I mentioned earlier, generally the disconnect is between people, process, and technology. So we have tried to merge these three so that you can effectively measure all the entities in your SDLC, right? So somewhere I read saying that if you can't measure it, you cannot manage it. So it's very, very true. So today, the only difference I see is the changing landscape, right? What I mean by that is we all know that there are challenges, and many times the challenges are because we introduce those challenges. Today, if you look at yourself, as you can see in this picture, I think you guys are seeing the same thing that I'm showing here. Okay. So we are engulfed with a lot of possibilities today, right? We are in a connected world. We have different methods to connect. We are connected through phone, handheld, TV, PC, you name it, right? So that there is a bunch of these things, right? So we are probably the villains of this whole testing landscape, right? We make it more complicated. The way we access applications, the way we connect, and so on and so forth, right? I'm just to give you an example, right? Today I can operate the camera at my home from anywhere in the world, right? That's how connected we are, right? Or for that matter, my car can download all the traffic data that is required for me to give probably the best path to reach my destination, right? So a lot of these things are coming into picture, which is basically not only making it challenging, it's also putting a lot of constraints in a way it has to be accessed. A good example is I was reading about this home automation, right? Soon our refrigerators will start ordering food for ourselves, right? So as soon as the fridge figures out that it's running out of groceries, it will probably make a call to the desired grocery store and start filling stuff into the refrigerator. So probably the day is not too far, right? So today there are a lot of these entities existing in silos, right? So you have home automation, you have GPS, you have internet, you have a lot of applications, you have social media, you have Twitter, you have Facebook, you have a lot of these things, right, which are interconnected, and this basically puts a lot of I would say challenges for a tester to ensure that the end-to-end thing is tested. So when we were looking at such a scenario, we realized that it becomes very, very imperative for us to have a platform which should not only be configurable, but it should be modularized. So you pick and choose what you want to test, right? And don't have to have or maintain a whole lot of stuff, right, required for testing. And at the same time, it should be scalable, right? Basically, I would like to reiterate that it should connect people, process with technology, right? And do it as quickly as possible in an integrated manner. And also, we thought that it should take care of few things, right? If you want to reduce cost, probably you need to leverage cloud, and so on and so forth, right? So that you can bring down your cost and scalability can be improved significantly. Now, some of the initiatives that are happening in this is today, if you look at travel is probably the most disconnected thing, right? So if you book your flight and for whatever reason, if there is a delay or there is a cancellation, then there is no alternate mode, or you have to go probably find another flight that you can travel with, right? Or there is no mechanism where as soon as your flight gets delayed, it makes calls based on the requirements of the user and tells him or her that you can be booked on another flight, or there is an alternate mode of transportation where you can take a train to your destination, and so on and so forth. And based on the user constraints, it would do the further bookings, right? So there is an organization called IPITA, which basically takes up the intermodal transport, where they're trying to stitch these things together. Now, all these things adds to the way we would test such an environment, right? So this is our effort in this direction, right? So like I mentioned earlier in my previous slide, where the business requirement is not all, right? I actually want to emphasize that the business requirement is only 1/8 of what you really see or can translate into your test scenarios. So where does the 7/8 portion of what you need to really test come from, right? So these are generally coming from how you see the whole ecosystem, right? It could come from your geo. For example, recently I heard a travel airline, sorry, where they came up with this app for doing a mobile check-in, right? So that means you can get a boarding pass online and do everything on your mobile. But when they released this app, they realized that when a person passes through security check-in, there is no connectivity in that area. For whatever security reasons, the internet doesn't work in that space, right? So obviously you cannot display your boarding pass. So these could be some of the constraints which may be very difficult to replicate in when sitting in front of a PC and trying to understand your business requirements. So some of this may require actual field visit and to know how my application would behave in the playing field, right? So there would be geo constraints. There would be constraints from social media, right? The user behaviors would change when based on the way based on that the application would behave differently, right? Or based on the number of users accessing, the scalability may be a challenge. So there could be lot of constraints, and there could be the business intelligence that would trigger certain changes as well, right? So there are a lot of things today we call digital transformation, right? So the whole ecosystem has to be tested for. Now there should be a mechanism where you bring all these constraints and stitch it into a way it can marry the technical aspects with your end user perspective, right? So that means keeping the end user in mind, right? Wherever this person would go, how the features of your application would change or behave, right? So when you integrate all these things, lot of factors actually prop out, right? It could be a geo, it could be the omni-channel. So today Netflix provides you a way to access your movies across multiple platforms. You could start viewing it on your mobile, and let's say once you reach home, you can flick that movie onto your home TV and start watching from where you left on the mobile. So that integrated it is, right? So how would you test a system like this, right? So whatever I'm giving examples here, basically a call out for something that is an integrated platform where the users can log in, know what is happening, know if I do certain changes to my environment, how the application would behave, so on and so forth. So this is our answer to this, right? So if I have to put it in a form of a methodology, I would call it, you first understand the different pieces of the puzzle, your business requirements, how your people are going to behave, or your users of the applications are going to behave. You may call them consumers of your application, and where you're going to use this application, right? The playing field, I would call, right? Now, when you have this understanding, you would figure out how I'm going to apply my testing techniques or my way I'm going to access this application, right? It could be in terms of tools, technology, platform, the geo constraints, or the whatever attributes that are required, right? I would try to apply some of these things, right? And provide a way to help get these things tested and as quickly to the user. So that's where the whole concept of DevOps comes in, right? Some of you already heard about DevOps, but what it basically entails is it basically brings everybody together as a single unit, the development team, the IT operations, the testing, all of them together, right? And in the process basically helps collaborate different functions into a single integrated unit, Okay, so so what the goal of the DevOps is more like a program manager, right? If I have to give you an analogy, where it tries to automate as much of things in your SDLC to release things faster to the market, right? So that your users get to see your product as soon as possible and you get feedback as quickly as possible. So and that's an imperative of success for DevOps, right? So because it's able to take that business demand and stitch it into your overall scheme of things, and tell you exactly what needs to be released when, right? So you give a priority based on the business requirement, then saying that, okay, I need to release this feature first and this feature next and so on and so forth. So it's not anymore the functionality or the functions or the features in your application. It is what is going to click with my user. So that input has to be, or your, I would call the competitive edge, right? Has to come as quickly as possible. Second would be how do I make everything as efficient as possible, right? So the DevOps responsibility mainly is to automate as much as possible and remove the manual process in the game. It would not completely eliminate, but it would try to reduce it as much as possible. And finally, it would help you make those decisions faster because you can now take calls quicker, and you don't have to worry about the whole application at one go. You only have to worry about what is that piece you're going to release. That way, it makes it very manageable from a project management point of view, right? Finally, when I talk about DevOps, I should probably also emphasize on continuous of everything, right? So today, even we have changed our shopping experience, right? So earlier we used to go to a mall and spend a lot of time figuring out what to buy and how to buy, touch and feel and do things. Today there are a lot of online mechanisms. Today even you can buy your groceries online, right? You can buy vegetables online. Even perishables like vegetables can be bought online. So people want to do as quickly as seamlessly, right? So that I think the patience, overall patience of dealing with things has significantly reduced. So we want to do everything continuous. So continuous is becoming the mantra today. So so when I say continuous, probably it starts with doing a assessment of where you stand, right? So because the ultimate goal is to ensure that your apps are deployed into production in an agile, automated, and a continuous manner, right? So that's the goal. So what do? You try to assess where you stand, right? Then you basically figure out what are the potential investments that you need to make, what are the software or what are the tools that I need to buy. Second is the most important part, which is the integration of all these entities together, right? So as soon as your build is ready, you want your dev environment, your test environment, and anything that is required to enable you to access the build, right, in a continuous manner. It could be your frameworks, test automation frameworks, or it could be anything that is required to start your testing. Once you have identified this thing, you want to get as close to deployment. That is, you want to be production deployable, ready at any given point in your cycle. So that's the mantra of DevOps as well, right? That any point of time I should be able to release into production, right? So how do you do a continuous release? So I can do a continuous release only if I have an infrastructure in place which allows me to do that, right? So I want to have a infrastructure provisioning on demand. That means I want to know that my build is triggered and it's ready to test, right? As soon as it's ready to test, I know that I have my tests kept somewhere. It could be my sanity test or my regression suite, and I basically put it on in those environments, test it, quickly release it. If there is a defect, I report the defect to the developers. They know how to fix it, and they send the next fix, and so on and so forth, right? So the whole process is continuous. And finally, the delivery, where you want to release on demand. Like I said, you want to be production ready at any given time, right? So feel is there is one more attribute which is very vital to this whole scheme of things. That is reporting. Because many times we have felt that you do a lot of these things, but if the reporting is not good enough, right, where you cannot see the health of the application, you cannot see the how my application is behaving, and if different stakeholders don't get a view of what is happening, then it's generally you may discover things later in the cycle which may be too costly to fix, right? So you need to have a integrated dashboard which is more or less 24/7. Okay. When we started thinking about this platform, what we actually looked at is I basically had an opportunity to present this concept when we were in the prototype stage at StarWest conference. So I was in LA last year in October, where a lot of CIOs and testing heads attended. So basically, I could use them as a sounding board for my ideas. And when I mentioned to them about the dynamic platform, they seemed to be excited, but they mentioned a few things which were very relevant. They don't look at testing anymore the same way they used to do maybe 5 years ago or 10 years ago, right? They look at it as something that is going to transform and help me offer a cost advantage or help me get to market faster, right? Along with giving me a lot of product effectiveness, right? So if I have to summarize what I got from that conference, they basically said two things. One is obviously the SaaS and cloud-based applications are basically making it seamless and want all the entities to work together, like your development, release management, test operations, everybody to work together. But also there is a lot of pressure on leveraging something called shift left, right? That is, you want to test as quickly and as early in the product life cycle or application life cycle. The second thing that was becoming very clear is the rise in cost of testing because of Agile and SaaS, right? Though SaaS releases are quicker, but it also adds a lot of cost to your testing. So they basically give me a few things to think about. One is you need to have a platform which is obviously it helps you transform from what is existing to what you want to get without having to disturb any kind of testing that I do today and be able to do business as usual. But it also should provide me quicker access to any kind of environment that I want to use for my testing, right? While giving me some kind of effective collaboration between different entities. Okay. So the second thing that I took from that was they preferred it to be something plug and play. I was talking to one of the testing directors in this conference and realized that they've already invested in a lot of tools and developed framework on their own. They were saying, can you bring your platform and without having me to change a lot of things in the way I operate today, can your platform stitch into my way of doing things, right? And obviously that became a huge requirement because this platform should be able to plug and play into your existing scheme of things. I cannot tell you that, okay, today you're using QTP, tomorrow start using Selenium because it's an open source tool, it can significantly reduce your time and effort, which is true, but I don't want to throw away my QTP test cases which I've already developed, right? I want to use them as well, develop new things, and should be able to play both of them together in a seamless manner, right? Where I can see integrated dashboard in a single go. And finally, I already mentioned this, a single dashboard where I can see the health of my project. So that's when we started developing our vision for how the platform should come out, right? Today it's a completely developed platform. So one of the things that we decided is we should eliminate any kind of manual testing effort in the whole STLC, software testing lifecycle. Also, one other factor that we accounted was a lot of effort is gone in translating your requirements into your test artifacts, like your test case, automated scripts, and so on and so forth. So we thought of integrating something with model-based testing tools so that the effort required for developing the test case can be directly derived using some of these tools. There are a lot of MBT tools out there today, like ConfirmIQ, Tosca, and things like that, which enable you to convert your business requirements into your test artifacts, right? Or they give you an intermediate script, not exactly that automated script, but an intermediate script which can be consumed by any tool. The third factor that we wanted to eliminate was any kind of wait time. So I also mentioned about how to do continuous of everything. So any kind of wait time had to be reduced, right? And any kind of requirement ambiguity. So as long as you can translate your requirements into your test artifacts, there is some kind of a traceability which you can trace back to if there is a failure in any part of the application. The second critical activity was to do things which is not important in a SDLC, right? That is so that we can reduce few things to get us time to do what is more important. So few of the things that we tried to do was because of doing this continuous, the defects were identified much earlier in the cycle, right? And we were able to build a continuous delivery platform, and irrespective of the tools, many times tools are used in silos, right? You may have a QTP framework, you may have a Selenium framework, you may have something for mobile, you may have something for other applications. So basically, we said all these silos could be reduced and provide an integrated way to access these tools, which in turn helps you reduce the total cost of ownership. Now, what it gave was, it gave me an additional bandwidth, because whatever was a wastage or is perceived as a wastage was either eliminated or reduced. So which gave me additional time to do things which is very important to a tester, right, or in a test life cycle. So I mentioned about the model-driven testing. The other thing that we introduced was the 24/7 dashboard. So that means at any given point of time, I can see the dashboard of my application. We went a step further. We said we will create a stakeholder-specific dashboard. That is, if a tester logs in, because it's an on-demand model, tester would be able to see test-specific metrics. If a project manager logs in, the metrics would be different, because a project manager may not be interested in the low-level logs. He may be interested in getting a high view of how my application is behaving. And in turn, because of all these activities, we were able to give testers more time to do exploratory testing. So what are those one or two things that we created in order to make this happen, right? So we brought everything on a single platform called MAAS, which is MAAS, which also stands for Mindtree Anytime Anywhere Solution. So which is a cloud-based service which offers different automation services on the fly, right from automation to your web services testing, to your mobile, to your performance, anything that you want, and is offered as an on-demand model, right? So what it basically does is it gives you a single unified platform irrespective of your tools or technologies that is associated with. So it's a SaaS-based, so it's a completely scalable model. So it not only integrates different tools, but it provides you a single interface through which you can, I'll probably get to the architecture in a second. So it gives you a single interface, right? So as you log in, you can log in as different profiles, and based on the profile that you log in with, you will get to use the features that are enabled to you, right? So it's completely on-demand model, and you pay only for what features you use and the duration that you use, right? So you don't have to worry about the infrastructure cost. You don't have to worry about managing, maintaining it. You don't have to worry about the licenses. You don't have to worry about the availability of it, because it's a completely on the cloud, so it's available 24/7 and completely scalable model, right? So one big thing that we got rid of in this whole process was licensing, because many times our customers are worried about if I procure a license, who is going to manage, maintain it, and so on. So we take care of all of that, right, in a single integrated platform. And it's completely plug-and-play model, right? So, for example, if you want to do only web services, you subscribe to what is offered as a web services automation, for example, and you get only billed for that activity, and you don't have to pay for the rest of the infrastructure, right? So it gives a complete flexibility to the user, while brings down the cost of infrastructure and testing significantly, right? So that was the thing here. So finally, we put this Mindtree anytime, anywhere as a service on our dynamic engineering platform, right? So that as soon as your environment is available and ready, right, for provisioning, and all your tools, frameworks, your application, everything is deployed and available, and your build is out there to be tested, you should be ready with your scripts, right? So these scripts could come from a model-based approach, or it could come as a standalone script, right? So it doesn't matter as long as the interface remains like an XML or something like that, which can be consumed by MAS, right? MAS basically consumes this and offers the services that I mentioned earlier. And it stitches a lot of other activities, like other utilities, like your dynamic code coverage. So many times a tester may be shy to ask for an instrumented build from a developer. So we do something on the fly, right? So we do a dynamic code coverage, right? So you may stitch in other utilities, like we have developed something called Performance Watch or P-Watch, where you can monitor your applications on the fly, right? Or if you want to do your user experience testing, how my application behaves across different geographies, right? So all of these utilities are plugged into a single integrated platform, right? And all of this is tied together, right? So you don't have to go to multiple places to see what you get. It's a single view, right? And finally, all of this clubs into your dashboard, right? So I get a 24/7 different views, right, of the dashboard. If time would have permitted, I would have shown you a demo of this thing, but I think we are running little out of time. So I would like to reserve at least 15 minutes for Q&A. If people don't have questions, then maybe I can spend a little more time on talking about other things. So it gives you a complete integrated platform, and it's available as a service, right? So you don't have to worry about subscribing to any of this all together. So your OPEX cost is very minimum, right? You don't have to have upfront capital to manage and maintain this platform. So right from your requirements to your dashboard, the whole thing is integrated. So so quickly to summarize, what this platform gives you is a quick way to provision, deprovision based on the environment requested by the user. You can work from anywhere because based on your requirements, the application will be provisioned to you. And it could be irrespective of the platform, whether you want it for your web application or for your web services or for your mobile or any kind of platform that can be provisioned, right, because of the plug-and-play architecture. The third is irrespective of the tool that you have already purchased or want to pursue, it can be integrated seamlessly, right? So you can improve your test coverage and reusability. Fourth is it works irrespective of the model, whether it's agile, waterfall, whatever approach that you use in your SDLC, it will work irrespective of that. And there is a mechanism to plug and play a lot of these solutions together, whether it's open source, commercial, firmware, and things like that. As long as the interfaces are available, we can plug and play with any of these, right? And you can maximize the usage through your model-based approach, because in models, once you create those models, they can be used forever. As long as the application doesn't go through a significant change, your models will remain the same. So, and the models can convert your test scenarios into something that is intermediate test scripts, which can be consumed by MAS and be executed on the cloud. So it brings down your cost significantly while your reuse is very high. right? And finally, the dashboard, which is the 24/7 stakeholder-specific dashboard. So that is what I had for today. So I would like to now open up for questions.
Thank you, Ramnath.
So Deepika,
thanks for the insightful presentation. I would request you to take up the questions now. Please read them out and their answers so that all our users may listen to your commendable insights.
So thanks for listening to me so far. I'll take as many questions that I can. Feel free to send whatever you have. If it's not possible to be answered now, I will try to get back to you later. So you can post your questions on the forum as well. The first question is from Mustafa. He says, more often than not, we as testers end up with data issues and following the dev for ways things are done. So very true. So I assume that it's a comment. He has a repeat. He has a follow-up thing. You mentioned about eliminate test case design. Are we really sure you want them to design test cases? Okay. So maybe it's a different question. So very true. So there are data issues. There are and that is very important, especially in an agile model, where you want to have things ready and available to you when you want to start your testing, right? And sometimes the interfaces may not be ready. So today there are talks about service virtualization, right? So where you, if something is not available to you, you can create stubs and still continue with your testing. So there are tools like Lisa and many service virtualization tools. HP has come up with its own service virtualization platform, where these tools can be leveraged and you can upfront simulate things even if you don't have access to these interfaces, right? But yeah, if you follow something like a TDD, like a test-driven development approach, a lot of these things can be clarified upfront in the cycle itself, where you can have a dialogue between the dev and your project management or a program management team, and understand what you need to be ready with. Because sometimes if you have to deal with a large amount of data, it becomes a real challenge, right? So you may want to have certain utilities created, like some kind of a data comparator or a data validator utilities, and you be ready with these utilities so that you can run your test as soon as the data is available to you, right? And many times there are a lot of utilities today which can help you fake production data into test data, right? So you can massage some of the production data and encrypt it and use it in your test environment. So a lot of these things can be done. I hope I answered your question, Mustafa. The next is by Vinay Mehta. He says, the very good concept. What is the ROI of this test platform? I mean, after how many product releases will it deem to pay off itself? Very good question. Because anytime, even today, after maybe 10 or 12 years of introduction of Agile is still under question, right? Because people perceive Agile differently. So like that, though this is not a concept, it was a concept maybe last year. Today we have a platform already available. Any new thing takes time. So I wouldn't say that you can be functional right tomorrow. But since it's a plug-and-play nature, you can start small and slow. You can start with what is relevant to your business need, and based on that you pick and choose that, and then slowly build on top of it. So the platform is available at any day. You decide that you want to only use the continuous delivery model. That is the I'll probably switch to that slide so it becomes a little easier for you to see what I'm talking about. then you can just use the setup module and not worry about the rest. But let's say you want to use something like MBT to quickly reduce your test effort, then you just pick that module and integrate into your scheme of things, right? So that way you can significantly bring down your cost. So it's, again, ROI is very relative. For some it may be faster, some it may be slow. It also depends on the type of application that you have. So based on some of these things, your ROI will get defined. So the next question again is from Mustafa. I think I read this. On slide number 7, you mentioned about eliminate test cases, test case design expert. Are we really sure we want them to design test cases? It's again not mandatory. It's a thought here, and we have seen if the test case design can be automated. One is you get traceability for sure, because you can track it right from your requirements to your execution state and your dashboard. So that is one advantage you get. Second is it reduces overall time that is required for developing redundant test cases. For example, once you develop the model, one model could translate into, let's say, 20 or 30 test cases. Now, for developing 30 test cases, even if you have to copy paste and just change a few fields in the test case, it may take forever, right? So some of these tools help you automate that. So you can pick and choose what is important to you. If you feel you can still manage and maintain it manually, but I would still recommend you have tools, you leverage tools and test management tools at least, so that you have some kind of a traceability maintained, and you can trigger your automation through these, right? The next question is from Ramkrishna. It would be helpful if you can give a broad level demo of this tool. I would love to do that. I don't know if we have time for it, but please do write to me. I will share my coordinates so that you can write to me. I will be more than happy to show you a demo of what we do. Just to give you a snapshot, it has all these components built in, along with a continuous dashboard, which is very, very interesting. If possible, I can quickly switch, but I don't know how much time we have left with. It's a demo running. I don't know if you can see it on your screens. You can see it. Yeah, so there is some delay in showing it there, maybe because of the bandwidth constraint. So we did a small currency converter application where we tried to integrate it with tools like Tosca and ConfirmIQ for automatic test case creation. So you can see here that it used ConfirmIQ as a tool, right? And you can choose any tool, whatever it's out there. And based on the attributes that you define, you can it will automatically develop the required XML for you and create these different modules, right? Once the modules are created, I will just skip through this so that we give time for others also to ask questions. it'll integrate, deploy whatever service that you have chosen, and finally give you a complete dashboard. So I'm actually displaying the dashboard on my screen. I think there is a slight delay. As soon as the dashboard comes, I will maybe talk about it. So you can see that there is a different views of the dashboard based on the build I choose, based on the requirements versus defects. Just to club yours with what Mustafa asked earlier, you can basically develop a traceability across your test cases, requirements, and so on and so forth, and see your health of the application across different releases if you have to, right? At the same time, this also gives you a code coverage. For example, here you saw what kind of violations that you encountered, whether any compliance issues, how my code behaved, and finally you get a complete report. We can integrate it with any code coverage tool to do static code analysis, and so on and so forth. So it's a complete a platform in itself, right? There is one more question. How do you automate test case writing? Here I already mentioned that we use these tools like MBT, model-based testing tools. These provide interfaces where once you create these models, they create a tool like Confirm IQ can give you output in different formats. It can give you an intermediate Java code. It can give you a VB script which can be integrated with QTP, or it can give you a Selenium output. So it can give any form that you request for. It can give an XML, and based on the what you want to consume, right? In case of Max, which is the Mindtree Anytime Anywhere service, it can consume XML. So we take XML from this tool and run it in our infrastructure. So any other questions? I think I have answered most of it. Great, thank you. Deepika, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Ramnath. Thanks for this insightful session. It was indeed a great one. I would also like to thank all our participants for their support in making this webinar a success. The recording of this webinar will be available to you all on techgig.com very soon. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Thank you.